You'll all come on in and get seated. We'd like to start. We have an excellent speaker. I was very fortunate to hear him speak at Phoenix. Very motivational guy, and with that, I don't want to cut into his time. All of his background is very sparsely put in the book. It goes on and on and on. But anyways, I want to introduce Tom Thibodeau to you.
Thank you, Bob. It's always embarrassing coming up and people say all these things about you, the high levels in terms of expectations that they set for us. But of course, all of us live with high expectations each and every day, isn't it? Isn't it amazing the expectations that people have for us to live the gospel? You proclaim yourself in terms of a SERRA. People now kind of raise the bar. High expectations for the lives we're supposed to lead. A friend of mine had high expectations for the man that his daughter was going to marry. Pre-fiancé interview. Future father-in-law sat down with future son-in-law. Said, tell me, what kind of job do you have? Well, I don't have a job, but God will provide. Good. Where are you going to live after you got married? You got a place to live? No, we don't have a place to live, but God will provide. I see. Do you have any money saved up? You know, things do come up in marriage. Do you have any money? No, we don't have any money, but God will provide. I understand. So he went downtown and had some coffee with his friends. They said, hey, how's that new son-in-law going to be? Well, he seems to be a fine fellow, but he thinks I'm God. I'm not God, you're not God. Brothers and sisters, each and every day we get the opportunity to do God's work. About 30 years ago, I brought one of my classes out to meet our bishop, Bishop John Paul, who is the father of the council. I've been to both sessions of the Vatican Council too. And this man was ready to retire within a couple of years, and I asked him if he'd talk with our students, and it was like he'd been waiting for 20 years for somebody to ask him. He had about 12 pages of notes, and he was just extraordinary, thoughtful, incisive. One of those kind of things that I should have, you know, at that time, if we had more technology, had on tape, because what he had to say was living history. And then afterward, he took off his glasses and folded his hands, and he looked at all of us, and he said, you know, you and I have the same job. And I smiled, I thought, oh, I've always wanted to be a bishop. And he smiled, he said, no, you and I have the same job, and that's to make the invisible God visible. Each and every day, our task is to make the invisible God visible. Isn't it amazing, class? Second question that you ever learned in the Baltimore Catechism. Why did God make me? Okay, we come from different countries and certainly we went all over the world. Yeah. But to know, love, and serve God in this world and the next. Isn't it amazing? Very early on in life, at 7 years of age, we were given our marching orders. To know, love, and serve God in this world and next. And that's our task each and every day to do that. Rabbi Abraham Heschel said this, our task today is not to return to the catacombs, our task is to remain holy in the skyscrapers. Pope John Paul II said that today we don't need more teachers, we need more witnesses. You and I, friends, need to be witnesses. Witnesses of the good news of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I don't know about you, I've given myself an official title. I'm an ambassador for goodness. I figure the other team's got enough players on it. So every time I get asked, every time I get an opportunity to speak to a group of people, I do it. This is the work that God has given me to do now. It's to talk to other people about goodness. Always reminding good people how good they are. That's our task. And you know what? I'm never disappointed. Wherever I go, I'm always meeting good people who want to serve me. It's just extraordinary, aren't you? Everywhere we go, there's all these people. As we walked in today, a number of people who wanted to meet us, welcomed my wife. People are willing to take care of us every step of the way. Goodness, my friends. January 7th, 2015, I'm in Wisconsin Dells, ready to speak to 300 farmers. My pocket goes off. I got a smartphone. Don't know how to use it, but I got it. All of us in our 60s and 70s, why do you have a smartphone? We're hoping to get pictures of our kids and our grandkids. Those of you who have grandchildren, send pictures. This is what we live for. My pocket goes off, my wife's talking to me. Tom, so how'd you get in there? Tom. Megan, our second oldest daughter, was on her way to work in downtown Chicago. The water broke. She's in downtown Chicago having our first granddaughter 6 weeks premature. Her husband's in the northern suburbs. My daughter's in a hospital she didn't intend being in. And my wife's at home just frantic. And here's our speaker, Tom Thibodeau. Come on, get go. Put her back on. Well, I got him in front of the farmers, and you can imagine, I'm distracted, I'm disturbed. I'm trying to speak, and I finally said to the farmers, this is what's going on in our life right now. I found it to be true everywhere I go, that once you tell people the truth about yourself, people respond with compassion. Once we say, this is what's happening in life, this is how I'm struggling, this is what I'm suffering with, these are my challenges, I feel this extraordinary sense of compassion. You and I watch the evening news and we see people who have tragically had their lives taken, like in Baltimore yesterday. Or we watch in terms where there's a terrible disaster, and what happens immediately, our hearts go out. Isn't it amazing how often you watch a news channel like that and you begin to pray for those people who are suffering? Mother Teresa reminds us we not only need to pray the Word, we need to pray the world. And so what happens? I tell them this is what's going on in my life. My daughter's going to work this morning, the water broke. She's in the hospital in downtown Chicago, having our first granddaughter, 6 weeks premature. My wife's at home by herself. Her husband's in the suburbs. That's what's going on in her life. And once I told them the truth, I was able to relax and get on with the rest of my speech. At the end of the speech, I walk off the stage, and there's a man at the bottom, about 5'10", with his shoulder like axe handles, got a blue shirt on, Larry on the pocket. Come here, he says, and he hugs me. This is unusual behavior for farmers. And then when he won't let me go, he flipped open his wallet and says, look at that, look at that. There's my granddaughter, 5 years of age, full of life. Your granddaughter's going to be just fine. I'm praying for you and your family. Did I need that in that moment? Yes. Hello, brother. Hello, fellow human being. Got your back. Isn't that who you are? Isn't that the life that you've chosen to lead each and every day? Hello, brother. Hello, sister. Hello, fellow human being. Got your back. You never know those small acts of kindness. Tim O'Neill, who introduced the prayer this morning, that beautiful rosary that we said together, our voices joined together in prayer. Extraordinary experience for all of us, those moments. We hunger for them. His brother Tom was a priest. And he was a chaplain at my university, Viterbo University in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Not a terrible university, but terrible university, named after St. Rose of Viterbo, Italy, Franciscans. And Tom O'Neill was our chaplain for 12 years, and he and I became very close friends. We had one of our very good friends die early on. And we took students to Assisi on pilgrimage. It was extraordinary. So I'm giving a speech yesterday at a conference. I'm sitting down at breakfast, and a woman comes up and said, my daughters went to Viterbo, it changed their lives. Well, Father Tom O'Neill changed their lives. Said they went through high school and they weren't very religious, and we were kind of worried about them, and they get to college, and Father Tom was the announcer at soccer games. They both played soccer. And through soccer, he developed a relationship with these two girls, brought them back to the church, and she said, Sunday, our granddaughter's being baptized. Goodness, my friends. Goodness, my friends. You never know. So, 6 months later, I'm in Dubuque, Iowa, speaking to another group of farmers. Right now, I'm on the farm circuit. No kidding. They consider me to be a moving speaker. Okay. And so I tell the story about Larry. They say he's here. Middle 300 farmers, here's Larry waving at me. They say, are you going to hug him? Yes, I am. We've seen each other at the La Crosse County Dairy Breakfast, or Vernon County Dairy Breakfast. Every time we see each other, come here, brother, get him a great big hug. Professional dairy producers of Wisconsin. Last time I saw him, come here, and he gave a great big hug, and then he said, now, brother, it's your turn. My wife's health is fragile. We need your prayers. Isn't it amazing we reap what we sow? If we are good, kind, prayerful, and compassionate, that comes back to us. If we're mean, bitter, and cynical, and judgmental, that comes back to us as well. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Those of you who are in SERRA, you will not see in your lifetime all the direct effects of your good work. But we weren't promised that at 7 years of age. To know, love, and serve God in this world and the next. This is eternal work that you're engaged in. And some of the most important work that I can think of right now is to be a vocation director, and we all are vocation directors. Why? You are helping to recruit, support, and pray for leaders in the Catholic Church, the largest organization in the world. The largest organization in the world for the force of good is the Catholic Church. Is that not true? Yeah. Can I get an amen on that? Yeah. Let's get excited, for crying out loud. That's why Pope Francis urges us to be missionary disciples. And how does he say we do this? First, by quoting from Pope Benedict, who said, being a Christian is not the result of an ethical choice or a lofty idea, but the encounter with an event, a person, which gives life a new horizon and decisive direction. It's an encounter with each other. And each and every time people encounter goodness in you, who do they encounter? The living God. He says, goodness always tends to spread. Every authentic experience of truth and goodness seeks by its very nature to grow within us. And any person who has experienced a profound liberation becomes more sensitive to the needs of others. And as it expands, goodness takes root and develops. If we wish to lead a dignified and fulfilling life, we have to reach out to others and seek their good. In this sense, several sayings of St. Paul will not surprise us. The love of Christ urges us on. Woe to me if I do not proclaim the gospel. Now, 3 things about goodness. The medieval theologians told us 3 things about goodness. This is why you want to put your nickel down on goodness. 1, there's joy there. There's joy there. It's wonderful being with all of you. You're joyful people. Joyful people. You laugh easily. You like each other. You party. It's good news. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. Yes. Yes, we need to be reminded there's so much sadness today, so much despair, so much in terms of depression. Please. In the last 2 years, suicide has doubled in this nation. We have more suicides than we do have homicides. Where is it that people are experiencing joy and goodness? Where are we witnessing to those who would take their lives rather than live another day? The power of our goodness and our joy, and we need to be reminded. We become forgetful. We give in to a culture of deficiency rather than proclaiming good news every day in who we are and what we do. We become forgetful, much like that older couple who went to the doctor. The doctor said, well, for people in your 80s, you're in remarkably good shape. Is there anything I can do to help you? Well, we're having a hard time remembering things. Oh, it just comes with age. Get yourself a little notepad, write things down. So the next night they're home watching a baseball game, and a gentleman gets up and his wife said, where are you going? He said, get myself a dish of ice cream. Oh, she said, I'd like one too. Write that down. I don't need to be writing down a dish of ice cream for a dry eye. I need to have I can remember a dish of ice cream. I like chocolate sauce. Just write that down. I don't need to be writing down ice cream and chocolate sauce. I like maraschino cherries. Just 2 maraschino cherries. Just write that down. I don't need to be writing down ice cream, chocolate sauce, and maraschino cherries. I can remember that. He comes out 20 minutes later, gives her a plate of scrambled eggs. He looks at him. Where's my toast? We become forgetful. Friends. Joy is the infallible sign of God. Joy is the infallible sign of God. You can produce happiness, you can produce pleasure, but joy is God's gift that we give to other people. Who is it that's drawn to the priesthood? Who is it that's drawn to the life of Christ? When young people see us living joyfully in terms of our faith. Witnessing to good news. Second, what is it that people respond to when you're in the presence of goodness? There's a sense of peace. Sense of peace. Isn't it wonderful just being with each other? Many of you walked in and didn't even know the person you're sitting right next to, but you looked at each other, you smiled, and immediately, in the company of strangers, you're at peace. St. Francis, 12th century, would walk through the village. Batchibin. Batchibin. Here, just try that with me. Get your right hand in the air. Just come on. And honor of our Italian friends who are in the room. Batchibin. Peace and all good, he'd say. Now think about it for just a moment. In the world in which we live, is there a greater gift that you and I can bring into every encounter, every room, every institution than peace and all good? What a great gift. In the Second Vatican Council, back in the day, I love that term, by the way, back in the day, old school, that's what I identify with. But I remember that to the Second Vatican Council and the changes in the liturgy. Do you know what the most uncomfortable change in the whole liturgy was? Not going from Latin, the peace, to turn to each other. I didn't come here to shake your hand. Isn't it rather amazing that what happens when the liturgy changes, our behavior changes? So the Eucharist changes us. And finally, what happens? What happens when you experience goodness? You want to stay. You want to stay. It'll be hard to leave tomorrow at noon. You've traveled a long distance, you've been here, you've celebrated, you've prayed, you've talked with each other. You've been reconnected with your higher sense of purpose and mission. You have a deep sense of community as Serrans that you might not experience anyplace else, and you want to stay. Now, why is that so important? How do you know in your presence of that which is not good? 1, sadness, depression, despair. When you're in the presence of that which is not good, there's confusion, angst, paranoia, fear. When you're in the presence of that which is not good, you can't wait to get out of there. Goodness, there's joy, there's peace, and you want to stay. Why does this become so terribly important for us? Because the second largest religious group in the United States of America are Catholics who have left the church. That's why we have to be evangelists each and every day, sharing good news with each other and our families, and our communities, everywhere we go. And it's our job. Our job, by our baptism. I have a piece of sculpture that I bought on the streets of Omaha from an artist, Bill Farmer. Bill Farmer, a deep Catholic, strong commitment to social justice, and he created religious objects. Amazing, very hard to find a gallery that would show his pieces. And I saw this piece and I wanted to buy it, and I told people I didn't buy it because my wife wouldn't want me to spend that much money, and it had nothing to do with that. She was supported completely. But that piece was so disturbing because it was Jesus hung on a cross. It was brass, a brass cross, and Jesus was hung on a cross and a hammock. And the cross came out of a piece of stone. And there's Jesus hung on the cross hammock with the nails at the bottom of the cross. And the name of the piece is called Indifference. That the way in which Christ is crucified today is by apathy. Apathy is the antithesis of love. When people don't care, when we don't get involved, when we don't get engaged. And yet each of the people that we've held out and each of the people that we admire are those people who actually witnessed with passion and with love and deep humility. What a great gift. The Serran prayer is just the opposite. Praying for the intercession of Mary and Joseph, for an increase of laborers for your church, fellow laborers with Christ, to spend and consume themselves for the souls to the same Christ. Greater love than this has no one to lay down their life for a friend. This is what we're called for. The gospel does not call for inconvenience. The gospel calls for sacrifice. Greater love than this has no one to lay down their life for a friend. Well, friends, we can't lay our lives down unless we first picked it up. We can't lay it down until we first can understand these are the gifts that God has given me. How is it that I will share those with other people each and every day. Please stand. Yeah, this isn't just set and get, gotta be engaged, all right? It's just like the sign of peace. Talk to the person right next to you. What kind of person are you on your really good days? What kind of person are you on the days where you're not so hot? What kind of person are you on your really good days? What kind of person are you on the days where you're not so hot? Let me just kind of interrupt right now. You know, they get a lot of energy here. Sarah, you like each other. All right, here it is. What kind of people are we on our really good days? Just shout out, what kind of people are we on our really good days? Joyful, happy, engaged, energetic, compassionate, thoughtful, sensitive, prayerful, generous, patient, forgiving. Isn't that true? Yes. Thomas Aquinas gave us a term for that. It's magnanimous. Magnanimous means to be great-souled. And on those days when you're having your really good days, you're great-souled and people are attracted. Is that not true? Yeah. People make up excuses to spend time with you. Because you want to be in the presence of great-souled people. It's God's gift. Now, let me take it from here. What kind of people are we on our days where we're not so hot? Crabby. I whine. I complain. I'm judgmental. I'm cynical. I'm sarcastic. I don't even like people. I build walls. I separate myself from others. Here's Thomas Aquinas' term for that. We're pusillanimous. Puny soul. Here's the truth. We all have really good days and we all have days where we're not so hot. Now, I'm working with a high school football team. Because we all understand these things. And there's a 9th grade boy who the coaches tell me his parents are going through a difficult divorce. And I said, what'd you learn? And he looked at all of us and said, I'm your teammate. And whether you're having a good day or you're not so hot, it's my responsibility to love you. Whether you're having a good day or not so hot, it's my responsibility to love you. Service is love made visible. Service is love made visible. Friends, have a seat. Service is love made visible. And as we sit here this morning, think of all the people who made this conference possible. Think of all the details in your conference program. Think of all the phone calls, all the emails, all the arrangements. Think about the cup of coffee that you enjoyed this morning. Where somebody got up at 5 o'clock, was here at the hotel, began brewing coffee. And the reason they were able to brew coffee is because there's clean water in Nashville. Why? Because people pay taxes for an infrastructure that allows for clean water. And then they were able to brew coffee, and then they put it into big pots, and then they moved it to smaller pots and clean cups, and they're all around the hotel, so that anytime you and I want to walk, we can have clean water, we can have hot coffee, clean water. That little jug of clean water over there right now, there's villages in Africa that don't get that much clean water in a month. And the reason that we had that wonderful coffee this morning that we all enjoyed, because one of our brothers and sisters in Guatemala or Colombia handpicked those beans. And you begin to realize that all of our lives are predicated on the service of other people. That's the gift of priesthood. That's the gift of religious life. That's the gift of our parents. All those people have given their lives for us. Now it's our turn. That's our challenge. I'm here today because of my mom. At 12, I became an adult. At 12 years of age, my mother was pregnant with my youngest sister. I'm the oldest of 6. Her pregnancy was difficult, and so the bed was brought into our family room. And for the last 3 months of her pregnancy, she was in bed, and from that bed she taught me how to cook and clean and iron and sew. Skills that I still have this morning. I ironed my shirt this morning. My wife said, no, I can do it for you. I said, no, I really like doing this. It reminds me of my mom. Cooked and cleaned and ironed and sewed, and then she gave birth to my youngest sister and went into deep postpartum depression. I dropped out of school in the 6th grade, and I cooked, I cleaned, I ironed, I sewed. Gave my brothers haircuts. One outside my skill set there. But a 6th grade boy cannot care for a family. We had no family in Wisconsin Rapids. And my dad had to ask members of our parish to take us in. 1961, there was a foster care. He went to members of our parish to take us in because he wanted us to stay in our Catholic grade school. He wanted us to be able to go to Mass every day. He wanted to be able to pick us up on Sundays and take us to Mass, to hold us together as a family. I ask you today, do you have a parish like that right now that would take in another person's children? And there was no guarantee. Had my mother broke her leg, they might have said, well, she'd be gone for 6 weeks. But when you have a severe postpartum depression, we lived in other people's families for 13 weeks. I'm a 12-year-old boy. And one night, I'm laying in bed at this home. The boy whose room I was staying with was always in trouble with his dad, so he's getting yelled at. So he was getting yelled at. I felt I was being yelled at. And I'm feeling terribly alone in this house, looking up at the stars. It was a clear night. And I prayed, as only a 12-year-old can pray, dear God, please help us. Please take care of my mom. Please help her to get well so we can be a family again. Please, please, I need your help. And in a moment of grace that I'll never forget, I was just overwhelmed with this powerful sense of love and a confidence that everything's going to be all right. And at that moment, my whole life was set in motion. Prayer is the school of love. I then later asked my dad, who's helping mom? Who's helping mom get better? And he said, that's a psychologist. He said, what does it mean to be a psychologist? You have to go and get a degree in psychology, then you get added help, added education. I went on to college, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. But at 12 years of age, I knew I wanted to serve other people. My whole life has been predicated on prayer and service. So has yours. Think of all the people who have made it possible for you to be the person that you are today, who have given us the gift. Now it's our turn. How do we look to our young people? How do we look to people who we think, look at their lives in terms of prayer and service, and encourage them, invite them, challenge them to follow the gospel of Jesus. Tell them that we need them, that their gifts and abilities are important to us. So many places where I go, I talk to people my age, where their hair's a little bit gray. Oh, young people these days. Oh, young people these days. I was back in the 60s. We weren't so odd. I tell you what, I teach at a college. Oh, young people these days. Young people are training to be nurses, but the high cost of college, they're working 40 hours a week plus going to school. Working 24-hour shifts on the weekend, taking care of our elders in nursing homes. Working difficult, sometimes low-paying jobs so that they can become nurses and leaders. And they have a hunger for service, and they have a hunger for the gospel. In all my time of teaching at the university, no one has ever said no when I ask, can I pray with you? The power of our service. The Second Vatican Council call to the laity was this: we are to be salt, light, and leaven in the world. Michael said that so very well. Thank you so very much for proclaiming and reminding us of what our role is to be as we encourage that next generation. So what happened at Paterno University in 1994, the president came to me and said, would you like to begin a master's degree in pastoral ministry? I said, no. I said, the church has a number of masters in pastoral ministry, and many Catholic colleges after the Second Vatican Council began masters in pastoral ministry for people to work in the church. I said, but the Second Vatican Council said The role of the laity is to serve in the world. God so loved the world. God so loved the world. The world is God's enterprise. The world is God's enterprise. So when Cardinal Collins stands up and speaks in Toronto, the whole community listens, not just Catholics. When you speak on behalf of those who cannot speak for themselves, when you remind us of that we have a responsibility to those who are poor in our midst, you speak with a moral authority that no one else in Toronto has. And we listen, and then we get to work. So I said, I'd like to begin a master's in servant leadership. He said, what's that? So I had to kind of explain it for about 5 years, and then in 1999 we launched the first Masters of Servant Leadership in the world. A couple years ago, there's a college in Canada that now has, we have a master's degree in servant leadership. Robert Greenleaf in 1970, the vice president of AT&T Corporation, launches the term servant as leader. From 1970 to 2004 on Google Informatics, there's no movement at all. Nobody's paying attention to servant as leader. 2004, it goes up a little bit. 2008, it goes off the charts. What happens in 2008? The collapse of the markets. What's the difference right now? We all know the difference between servant leaders and self-serving leaders. Self-serving leaders, privilege, power, and prestige. It's all about them. How do you know a self-serving leader continually uses the term I? Servant leaders, it's all about us. Servant leaders go to serve, to develop, to help increase the lives of other people and their possibilities. Do you know who understood this? Mother Teresa. Now when I speak to groups, and I'm speaking to CEOs across the country right now, everybody knows Mother Teresa. She's been dead for 25 years. They don't give out vitals on nuns. How tall do you think she was? I bet she wasn't 5 foot. How much do you think Mother Teresa weighed? I bet she wasn't 100 pounds. What did she own? 2 dresses. They were both blue and white. not physical stature. Didn't own anything. And everybody in the room knows who she is. Why? Because of her service. At age 80, she was interviewed after she got out of the hospital for exhaustion. Wouldn't you love to be 80 and be exhausted? And I said, Mother, what's your most difficult problem? And she said, parking spaces. Parking spaces? Parking spaces. I send the sisters away, get their degrees in medicine and nursing, they come back, they want their own parking space. I have to send them to the house of dying, get them straight around. Isn't it amazing that all of servant leadership, what we're called to do by our baptism, is based in humility and prayer and joy and service. And there's only 2 ways in which you and I can practice this. Only 2 ways. And one of them is not technology. Notice I don't have a PowerPoint. You have no power, have no point. I teach at a college. I never heard somebody walk out of a room and say, oh, I wonder where you got that slide. Woo! Never seen so much good information all my life. Only 2 ways. 2 ways that you and I evangelize. Only 2 ways in which you and I inspire and influence the lives of other people each and every day. Our words and our presence. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was made flesh. Say but the Word. The Word of the Lord. The power of our language. Isn't it amazing? With one word I can lift somebody up, I can tear them down. With one word I can honor somebody, or I can humiliate them. We shape our lives. We shape our families, our communities, our church by the way we speak to and with each other. Our nation and our world by the conversations that we have. And would you not admit with me today that there's too much that's rude and crude? Amen. Even Confucius says, the rectification of a society begins with the reclamation of language. The way in which we speak to and with each other each and every day. The importance of our word. Remember it was back, old school, back in the day, Cardinal, the greatest compliment I could give you, he's a man of his word. Isn't that true? You gave your word and you kept it. The ability to speak the truth with love is a hallmark of a leader. The language that we have to speak. How about a little poem here this morning? A word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say, it just begins to live that day. Repeat after me. A word is dead.
A word is dead.
When it is said.
When it is said.
Some say.
Some say.
I say.
I say.
It just begins to live that day.
It just begins to live that day.
A little baby's being baptized someplace in Wisconsin this weekend because over 15 years ago, Father Tom O'Neill talked to these kids who were playing soccer and made a connection and invited them back to the church. And it helped increase their faith through the experience of the Eucharist. He had no idea that that conversation was sowing the seeds of faith for the next generations, and neither do we. So here it is, friends. When we're talking, when we're engaged in conversations, when we talk about our church, when we talk about the work of SERRA, when we talk about our families, talk about the good stuff. Talk about the good stuff. There's no virtue in cynicism. There's no virtue in sarcasm. Talk about the good stuff. Whatever a leader pays attention to, you get more of. Whatever the way you start a conversation, you get more of. So let's recognize the good stuff. The last Thursday of January, 12 years ago, I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin, speaking to our alumni about the good stuff happening at our university. Now, it's 8 o'clock at night. All I've had to eat are hors d'oeuvres. I have to go 70 miles to another presentation at a Catholic high school in Fond du Lac. I don't know where I'm going to stay for the night. I'm walking through the lobby of the hotel. I run into a gentleman. Excuse me, sir. Mark! Tom! It's my brother Mark. He's a year younger than me. He's a district attorney of Adams County in Wisconsin. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm here for the state DA convention. What are you doing here? I said, I'm giving a talk for Terrible. I said, what are you doing now? He says, I was going to go to Subway and get a sandwich. I said, we're old enough. Let's go to the tavern. We went in, we sat down, we had a beverage and a sandwich. He said, where are you staying tonight? I don't have a place to stay. Why don't you stay with me? State's already paid for room. I have a king-size bed if you don't mind sleeping with me. Not at all, I said. Went and got my stuff, came up to his room. We're talking for a while. It's time to go to bed. We both got up, took our medication. Jumped in bed with each other, hit the light. Instantly, we're 12 and 11 again. The last time we slept in the same bed, we're 12 and 11. We're laughing, we're giggling, we're snorting. Just like 12 and 11-year-old boys do. And then he starts talking about our grandmother Florence, who inspired and influenced our lives for a lifetime. In 1937, our grandmother, my grandfather was hit and killed by a trolley car in Milwaukee, leaving my grandmother with 5 children under the age of 11. She's a single-parent businesswoman in the midst of the Great Depression. Her apartment was above our beauty shop. She'd get up in the morning, feed the older 4, give them to the care of the 11-year-old, take the baby down and begin cutting hair. At 10 o'clock, she stopped to nurse her baby. She had a friend who had given birth to twins who was not strong enough. Grandma nursed 3 babies at 10, noon, 3, and 5, and then went upstairs and took care of her family. We're talking a strong woman here. When I was growing up, Mom's health was not good, so Grandma came for a week every summer, and she cooked and organized and sewed and things my mom was not able to do. 5 o'clock at night, she'd go up and get herself ready for supper, came down for supper and taught us how to make a brandy old-fashioned sweet. Taught us how to play sheephead, gave us good hands, wanted us to win at cards. She wanted the best for us. When I went and saw grandmother when she was dying, brain cancer, probably from the chemicals from giving permanence those years, one of her eyes had closed. I said, Grandma, how are you? She said, I still got one good eye to read my prayer book every day. When my brother went to law school, he lived with my grandma and come home at 11 o'clock at night to have a plate warm in the oven. We talked about our mom and our dad. My dad died 18 years ago, Mom's been gone 13 years. We talked about our uncles and aunts. We talked about our cousins. We talked about our brothers and sisters. We talked about our wives. We talked about our children. We talked about our friends. We talked about our co-workers and the good work that God has given us to do for these last 50 years. And in the dark of the night, we were reminded we've been loved for a lifetime. The good stuff. The good stuff. With the person right next to you, practice being the evangelizer. Talk about some of the good stuff in your life right now. Just talk with each other. What's some of the good stuff in your life right now? You. Audience participation. Let me interrupt just a moment. What did you see on people's faces as they start talking about good stuff? What happened to the energy level in this room? Went up. What happened when you start talking about good stuff? There's more good stuff. Start talking about good stuff, what happens? Look at all we have in common. Look for the good stuff. That's the role. That's why it's called good news. It's always good and always new, and it still has the power today. And I would say to us today, this is our time. When there's so many times we hear about the voices of darkness and doom, to have the courage to talk about the good stuff, it brings people together. And I don't know about you, but this is good stuff, Sarah. Amen? Amen. All right, now the second way in which we have an influence on each other each and every day is by our presence. By our presence. Isn't it true? When you sit down with somebody, they don't even have to say something, and you just enjoy. Can I just sit here for a minute? Oh, it's been a day. It's been a day. Cardinal, don't you have sometimes a priest will come in, can I just sit here for a moment? Oh, it's been a day this week. I mean, holy smokes. And then after about 5 minutes, what can I do for, oh, just nothing. Then they get up and they walk out, and they say, thanks. Yeah, I didn't do anything. You were there for me. Isn't that true? The power of our presence, servant leadership. One of our food companies in the state of Wisconsin, Festival Foods, this is the rule for managers. Weddings optional, funerals mandatory. What do you think happens if you work for that company and your mom or dad dies and there's 30 of your co-workers at the funeral? The power, there's a presence. And even in just our own parishes, you go to funerals of people you don't know. It's a corporal work of mercy. Just to show up and to be there. I don't know the people. Doesn't matter. Just show up. The power of our presence that we have on each other each and every day. It's a great gift. It's a great gift. All right, one last time, please stand. Kind of reminds you of good fun. He does it up and down right now. What I'd like you to do, this will be difficult for you because you're very authentic people. Have you ever gone to parties or someplace and people are introducing themselves, but they're looking for somebody more important to talk to? Okay, try to imitate that kind of behavior. Just kind of shake hands with people. You're looking for something more important to talk to. All right. Oh, really good. Okay, here's the second part. Sarahs. Introduce yourselves to each other as if you're coming to a family reunion. Have a seat. I guarantee you there has not been this much hugging in this room ever. Now here it is. It was the same activity. The activity was to introduce yourself to each other, and the first time I asked you not to pay attention. Look for something else. In fact, the greatest temptation of every leader right now is to be distracted, to be pulled apart. The greatest gift I give to another human being is 100% of my attention. And then when I just gave you the instructions, please greet each other as if you're coming to a family reunion, a brother and sister. Look what was released in this room. That energy, that potential is always there. It's our presence that makes all the difference. All the difference. I'm going to tell you 2 last stories. The first one you're going to have a hard time believing. I went to St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota. I was thinking about becoming a monk. I was in pre-monk training. Poverty, chastity, obedience. I can handle that. Silence, probably not. I went there to play college football for the winningest football coach in college football history, John Glardy. Just retired 5 years ago at age 85. We had won more games than any other college football coach in the country. And when we got there in 1969, the first thing he said is, listen, you guys, none of you are going to the NFL. None of you are here to play football. You're here to get a college education. How can you study at night if you're beating each other up during practice? Therefore, no blocking or tackling. You got that? Yes, coach. I checked the scorecard, he said. You don't get points for practice. You heard somebody in practice, you answer to me. You got that? Yes, coach. Up here in central Minnesota, we don't have time for that foolishness like wind sprints and calisthenics. You want to play in this team? You keep yourself in shape. You got that? Yes, coach. I'm thinking to myself, non-violent aerobic football. Well, after about 5 days, I realized I wasn't going to play very much. And I called home and I told my dad, I'm not going to play very much. Why is that? He said, I said, these Minnesotans are bigger, faster, and stronger than I am. He said, well, if you want to quit, quit. You've earned that right, but if you stay in a team, I expect you to show up every day and give 100%, because if you don't, you're taking away from the effort of others who want to be successful. You couldn't have this conference unless all of you are willing to come. From as far as the Philippines to show up, from as far as Italy and other points in the world, you may sacrifice time, energy, and treasure to show up. Your presence is such a gift. So for the prospect of not playing very much for the next 4 years, I showed up at every practice. Need somebody to play defensive tackle? I jumped in. Need somebody to play catch punts? I caught punts. Need somebody to help the trainers pick up cups on the field? I picked up cups. We had 100 guys in the team. Nobody got cut. We had 3 number 10s, and one game they all got in. I have no idea how that happened. I myself, I played twice. Once in my sophomore year and once in my senior year. My junior year, I just about got in. My friends came, started cheering for me. We want Thibodeau. We want Thibodeau. I already looked over. Hey, Thibodeau. Yeah, coach. Go see what they want. No, I don't know why they did this. When in 2003, Sports Illustrated sent a reporter to Collegeville, Minnesota to cover this quirky coach. No, I don't know why they did this. I really don't. But they took a picture when I was on a team in 1969, number 17. I never played, but I'm in Sports Illustrated. Don't laugh. I never played. But all I did was, you never know. Now, why does this sound so common to you? Why does this such common sense? Why is it that we understand this so deeply, my friends? Because all of our lives have been shaped by words and presence. And the night before he died, Jesus, the greatest teacher of all time, gets up and does not give one final lecture. Does not ask questions. He puts on an apron and he gets down on his feet and he washes feet. Everybody's feet. Judas included. He wanted to demonstrate one last time that service is love made visible, and he wanted his friends to know how much he loved them. And then his words, you are blessed when you do this. Blessed when we do this. I teach at the university, but the great work of my life, great gift God has given me, was to start a Catholic worker house in La Crosse. Our house is called the Place of Grace. Catholic worker movement was inspired by Dorothy Day, whose famous words are, Eucharist is breaking bread with broken bodies. And about 12 years ago, in the midst of winter, the house was packed with people in the streets. People hungry for food, but hungry for community. We used every dish in the house twice. The house was filled with smells of bleach and body odor, and it kind of mixed because humanity was gathered there. And when everybody left, we had Mass at the table where we had all been sitting. Our friend who was a priest came and had been washing dishes for 3 hours, and you notice that when you wash dishes for about 3 hours, you had dimples that form at the end of your fingertips. And as we sat down and he held up the bread and held the chalice, you could see the dimples of a man's hands that had been spent washing dishes, and now we're holding the sacred body and blood of Christ. And we had this amazing experience around this table. Eucharist was celebrated on a table where people in the streets had just eaten. Our altar cloth on apron. And at the end of it, we were all exhausted, but filled with the Spirit. And one of the members of our community sat up and looked at each of us, smiled, and said, "I got it! I got it! I finally got it! I love each of you. And tonight, I would die for all of you. This is the meal that changed the world. And Serrans, you are recruiting and encouraging and supporting that next generation of those people who will be consecrated, to consecrate the body and blood for us. That brings a community together who reminds us who and whose we are through words and presence. Good work, hard work, noble work, dare I say, holy work, my friends, that you do each and every day. You are a gift to the people that you know and the people that you love. You are a gift to your neighborhoods, your communities, your businesses. You are a gift to the church. You are a gift to the world. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. Oh, good and holy God, who sent your Son Jesus to show us what it is to serve and to lead, and continues to empower and enrich our lives with your Holy Spirit, thank you for gathering us. Thank you for choosing us to be your missionary disciples. Please, dear Jesus, help us to touch the hearts of the young who are yearning to know you, to follow you, and to serve you as we have tried to do. Guide us all with your joy, your humility, your love. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Father.
You're in for a treat, and Tom will take a couple of questions. If anybody has a question to ask him at all. There is a hand over there.
I want to know, are you French Canadian or are you from Thailand?
French Canadian. Quebec. Here, just how all of our lives are connected.
Yes.
My grandmother, so it'd be my great grandmother, died, and my grandmother was sent to a convent in Quebec City, an orphanage, and then was a mail order bride, was sent to a French Canadian town called Coleman, Wisconsin, where she married my grandfather. I'm not here today if those sisters weren't there to take in my grandmother. 2 years ago, we had a chance to go to Quebec City and find the sisters and celebrate Midnight Mass with them. Merci beaucoup.
Mine isn't a question, it's a moment of joy. When we sat down today before your talk, my friend said, anybody know where this Bitterbowl College is? I said, well, we've got a Viterbo University in my hometown of La Crosse, but I really doubt this guy's from there. I can't tell you what a treat it was listening to you speak, and your talk was sensational. And you mentioned Holman. My sister just lives a little beyond that, Spring Grove, Minnesota, on a farm. So it was just fun hearing about all the towns. Again, really appreciate your talk.
Get ready for the family reunion.
Take just two more. That'll work.
I'm Karen Guy from the Holy Lands, Wisconsin. If I bring a deck of cards, can we get together and shoot a game tonight?
Bring the brandy old-fashioned sweet.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. My name is Jim Fennell from Beaumont, Texas. I have a very profound question for you. Do you know any Boudreaux and Thibodeau jokes?
I've heard of them, yes.
Thank you for your talk today. Thank you. It's been really good. My question to you is, as you reach out to other people and your family and your coaching and your speaking, the words of encouragement, I would like to know if you would share with us how you talk to yourself when you get up in the morning. What do you say? Because I have a feeling that suicide people probably say, I'm no good, I've failed, life isn't worth living. Do you have, what do you say to yourself?
One of the things you learn from the monastic tradition are short prayers that you can repeat all the time. And my own self-talk are short prayers that where even before when I'm sitting here and I was listening to the end of Michael's speech, my Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. As I was standing here, as you were waiting for me to come in, my Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. I say, Lord, help me. Lord, help Priscilla. I name all the people in my family by name, kind of a litany. And it's that prayer is the school of love. And sometimes in order to stay focused, because there's so many distractions, that's why, didn't you find a sense of peace when we said the rosary together? It's a meditation. It becomes meditative. Why is it that all of our grandmothers had a rosary on their bedposts? They weren't taking sleep medicine. No, I'm serious about this. And the levels of distraction and anxiety are just so terrible today. So one of the things I'm finding, quite honestly, I'm spending more and more time in contemplation and teaching other people about contemplation. You hear all about mindfulness, my friends. This is the work of the desert mothers and desert fathers from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th centuries of Christianity. We're sitting on a gold mine of contemplation and silence and community and prayer. And so how is it now that we invite other people into this? And so it's those repetitions, those mantras, if you will, from the Psalms, from the prayers that settle our hearts. Try it the next time you're stuck in traffic.
Todd, thank you so very, very much.